Nice. What's that art behind you?
What's the what?
The art that's behind you.
Oh, it's actually a good story. I need to hang it. We used to like in our last fundraising, we used to make fun with investors that despite our unicorn valuation, we're building a flamingo, like a real animal, a real business. So it started as a joke on humility, and it became like the I don't know, the design studio did like a bunch of stuff back then in NFTs, and it became like the content frame of our culture, if you want. And so we give it to people in the Hollands. We used to have a game that asks questions, and you can win some of the posters of the flamingos. But yes, they are pretty cool.
They're awesome. They look
Yes,
fun. It reminds me of the what is it? The apes.
yeah, the
They're
apes.
like
It was like a takeoff on the apes. Yeah, that was our internal jokes on the apes. Yes, yes,
I feel
I
like
saw
everyone knows
Eli.
someone who bought one of those apes.
yes. Everyone wants. I wonder what's happened with the apes now. Actually,
I feel like
nothing.
I
Not
could probably guess.
People
I
bought them
mean,
with
yeah,
millions of dollars back then. Nothing. Nothing. Wow.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, they should have made flamingos, I guess. Like a
No.
real business, you know what I mean? I hear that that's in style again all of a
Yes,
sudden.
yes, yes. Feel cool again. Yes, I know.
Um, you know what's funny? I'll share, like, a really quick flamingo story also. Eli, at one of the events, you guys had a booth, and they had, like, a bunch of little toy flamingos. So I took a couple of them back home for my kids because my daughter her classroom is named the Flamingo Classroom,
Oh,
at the time. So it worked out super well. Yeah,
yes, yes. And who doesn't like a flamingo, right? It's pink. It's like colorful. Yes, yes.
yeah. Um, hey man, so I mean, do you have some general context on the pod or
Yes, I
um
did my geek research. Yes, I think it's like uber cool what you guys are doing, and be very happy to I don't know share, help, thoughts, you name it. Yeah, but yes, I think I have like a general sense, but feel free to guide me as well.
amazing. Yeah. I mean, the thing that I thought was so interesting, that I was excited to explore with you was like what strategy frameworks you guys thought about as you made the decision to focus on um, the sort of reviews platform and loyalty. And you said something in the pod with Sean that I thought was totally underexplored, which was focusing on AI enablement in the enterprise. And I think too much of the attention was focused on what you decided to not do as opposed to what you decided to do. And I thought that was a huge missed opportunity because I thought all of the real insight, of course, when you decide what to do, there's things you have to say no to. That's like what strategy is. But I think it was totally underappreciated what you guys decided to do. And so I was hoping we could sort of start with that as the like big backdrop. Like, what were you seeing, and therefore what did you decide to lean into?
Well, first, I'll say that the first thing is that we weren't good enough, meaning, like, I think the first sense was like, I think we made like a lot of progress, specifically more on SMS and email were starting to pick up, but we felt that you can't really build, or we at least won't be able to really build like what we think is like best in class software or innovate to the market. I think maybe retrospective, our mistake was we didn't have a like entering like an existing market. We should have come with like maybe something more extreme or more different. Like basically, we were preparing to try to build some kind of what Claver released recently, like the autonomous marketing, but we needed to get the foundation first, and we just couldn't execute on everything in parallel. And then when you talk to customers, you just feel like underwhelmed by how their feedback. In general, I also think SMS is becoming a different channel for brands a bit. They are segmenting more, all the regulations. Verizon is increasing, by the way, the prices soon. So the channel as a whole became less lucrative. And then we say, okay, what do we want to do? And maybe with the recent announcement, it became more evident. But for us, like agentic commerce and AI is like something we really wanted to explore. I can tell you, even for me, despite the fact that Yotpo is a big company, I always, when I interview executive, I always tell them that despite of my title, I'm like, not, yes, I'm the CEO, but I'm much more the entrepreneur than the CEO. And so I much rather build in areas that I feel that we can innovate and bring something new to the market. And in reviews, I really think like the market is completely changing. You're going to see us like continue releasing like the way users writing reviews, reading reviews, the importance of reviews in an LLM first world, all of that is completely changing. We also like want to build full blown a set of tools to help brands be more visible at LLMs. That's like an area that Yotpo is gonna like very much lean into. Loyalty, I think like loyalty, it's always like an interesting category, right? Would have Jeremiah bought because of the loyalty program or regardless of the loyalty program? And the incrementality is something that we really want to solve. And in Yotpo in general, I think that another thing that a lot of like, at least on social, is being missed. A lot of the Yotpo customers are not just pure play B2C. So a lot of them are selling on retailers. A lot of them are like offline, online. And there's like a wide range of solutions that we need to do a better job at to really help them with like their omni-channel needs. So we are working now with a few more retailers. I hope we can announce soon. We launched like Target, Walmart. We offline, like point of sale is becoming like a very big deal for us. That's like another. So it's we have like a lot of stuff, and we thought reviews is changing, and we want to lead that. Second, loyalty, we feel that we have a lot more to accomplish. And LLM discoverability, agentic commerce is an area that I'm personally very passionate about. I think it's going to be like a big shift. Like I think it's a real deal. It's not like the apes. And we want to do some bets, and we just couldn't bet on too many things with our delivery. So we said, okay, we want to focus. And just for everyone to understand, it was like a massive change in Yotpo in the mindset, because for us, like before the change, email and SMS were like the growth engine. So now all of a sudden, you need to like do like a very big mental shift and use like a very different mental model, maybe for many of our leaders, of our employees. Even like this is one of the reasons we want to change so deeply. Like let's take now AI even inside Yotpo, leave aside the product of them all. Like Yotpo is in a tricky place, right? On one hand, we're exactly the company that are not AI native. And on the other hand, we are big enough, so we have like millions lines of codes. So the transformation to really become like a leaner, smaller company, it's a huge task. It comes from like, how do we change the finance team? How do we change the marketing organization, the CSMs, the sales? It's like a big journey that we are really investing into. And I think that, I don't know, you probably get once in a lifetime opportunity to really transform something that big. And how I told the investors, in a weird way, I find a lot of passion for it. I want to see what it means for Yotpo to really transform. And so that's our task that we signed up for now. And yeah, but it was like a massive mental change, I can tell you internally.
I've never like, stopped servicing a product that, people were using. And I'm assuming like this one was like probably pretty large. I'm curious, like when you like, what did you not expect when you decided to stop servicing a product? Like if I was ever thinking about servicing a product, is there anything that like, caught you off guard, or, was it easier than you ever thought? Like,
yeah, no. So my joke internally before we announced was, I feel like we invade Normandy. We have like a list of like 1,000 action items, communication, how do you migrate customers, technical stuff, finding the right partner. So first, I think like if you really do right by the customer, most of them, of course, the one that let's say migrated like a month before to our email, like wanted to kill me. And that's like totally obvious, and it makes perfect sense, and it's a very painful experience. But we really tried, like we literally kept still till today, keeping people on the payroll, that the entire job is to make sure that migration is extremely smooth. When we look at like all the partners we are working with, we need to make sure that it's gonna be like a very good process. And I think customers saw we really care, and partners saw that we really care, and we really try to be as authentic as possible. And I don't think one thing that maybe surprised a few people, I don't know, it was like many agencies, which agencies are having a tough time, like try to say, hey, now like we will help you with the migration and try to like bring leads to them, which was I think a bit surprising to some of the Yotpo people. But overall, it was actually better than planned. I don't know if you can call it like that, but it was extremely well planned. I'm talking like one of the biggest like I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of like human hours went to like that segment of customers and how to build behind the scene the data migration. So customers wanted to do that, and BFCM is coming. So who needs to move before BFCM? Who is after BFCM? It was like a very big plan. So I can tell you, it's like it just takes a lot. Maybe the only tip I can give you is that if you ever do that, invest a lot of time from a customer point of view to think about it, and that's like probably the only important thing.
I'm curious. I saw. Sorry, I don't remember the details of this, but I saw that you're launching like was it Yotpo Labs or something to that effect. I'm curious how that fits into all of this, because obviously you're simplifying focus.
Yeah,
and
that's our new product. So how it fits? It fits in two ways. I'll give you like the out-facing way and the in-facing way. So first, as I mentioned, I'm the entrepreneur. So I drive everyone crazy. And I think in Yotpo, we have like too much innovation, right? There's a new startup we launched to allow brands to have 2 days free shipping called Ocean. Josh, we inside the products, and I'm driving people too much crazy. We need like more focus in general. So one of the things we did is just like have a team of like 5-6 engineers reporting to me. So I won't drive everyone else crazy. So that's one thing, internal reason. External reason is, again, in agentic commerce, I think like Yotpo is a company that will continue building more and more products and will try to help brands. But AI is like gonna dramatically change, and we wanted to create like a different setup, because in Yotpo, right, we have sprints, we have OKRs, and we need something very differently to go from 0 to 1. Because just like we needed a different operating environment, if you want. And we did like an acqui-hire of like a small team in the CDP world, and we took like one of the founding team members there and gave him like a lot of room to operate and a lot of budget to really build the team and to go and try to build a new product. Hopefully, we're going to launch it in a month or month and a half. Very much AI. It's not an existing category, something that we think is going to be very important to the future. So the internal reason, a lot of it is like a different operating model that I won't drive people crazy, but also for them to operate differently. I don't care about sprints. I don't care about like OKRs and all of that. Unlike like products that have like a $50+ million of revenue that needs like a very different operating environment.
Yeah, I think, Tomer, there's a bunch here that I really want to dig into, especially for other SaaS like CEOs and founders. One thing you said in the first part, which was like, hey, I wanted to like, I'm the entrepreneur, and you're saying this a lot, like I'm the entrepreneur, but I also have this job, which is CEO. And
unfortunately, yes. There's a joke I tell with the board that, unfortunately, I'm a founder that scaled. That's like the internal joke. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you have a great COO, so that must help. Yeah.
Yes.
The thing that it made me think was, I don't know if you've heard like Owen McCabe talk about the transformation he took Intercom through, or
great point.
Yes. Amazing, or the one about Airtable and like the transformation that they're going through. And when you hear like these stories, it really is only the founder that can like say, you know what, I'm going to take this massive amount of ARR and I'm just going to like put it away. Actually, I'm just going to like hit delete on this like huge amount of ARR in order to reimagine the company, because AI means that what everybody expects is now different. And so there are components that are like we're talking about, when you have a strategy, you have to say no to things in order to say yes to things, right? The secondary part of that, which you're talking about from an operating model standpoint, is about, for lack, some people like these words, some people don't, like founder mode, like going founder mode. You have to sort of get back into the details and actually really drive things that are going to actually move the boat so that way people can feel the change. When you thought about that for yourself, who did you talk to and who do you talk to now as like an intellectual counterpart to like make those shifts? Because the rest of the organization is like, they're not who you can talk to about the things you need to think about. So who do you talk to when you're trying to think about those changes and how to think about those changes and like all the trade-offs that you have to make? Who's the peer group that makes those kinds of decisions easier?
Yeah, so in the management, we have like, let's say 5-6 people that I usually consult with on pretty much everything. From we have like a very experienced CFO that's been through that a few times. We have like Asaf, our COO, CMO, head of engineering. So we have a few of those people. I also have like a few other people outside. Like, so some of our board members, it's one, like we have like Adam from Bessemer. He's like unbelievably, he's also like a very much thing about the future. Also, Shopify is a large investor in Yotpo. So in Shopify, I have like probably some better relationship with some of their executives. Actually, their CFO, Jeff, like a great person. Now another person, Glenn, that left, but used to lead product. I used to talk with him a bit on product. Also, Carl now that moved to design, spend some time with him on like Shopify's way. Who else? Like I have like 2 bankers that I talk to, surprisingly, that are not fit to be bankers, but they are actually good. Um, and in general, I think at least for me, it was the understanding that when you talk to customers and you understand that Yotpo became too big, too fast, I'm not doing my job correctly. I'm not enough in the weeds. I became too much of a big manager, and Yotpo needs like a cultural shift because all of a sudden you're talking to people or you asking. Like I also did like so I met like 150 customers and I interviewed like 70 of our employees across the company. And you see a lot of them are talking about mediocrity. And you say, okay, I have to change it dramatically because I don't want to stay in that kind of a company. And I think, yes, the founder, right, has like a huge superpower. You have like all the context. And you probably have like the moment you understand that you have like literally nothing to lose is like a great moment, right? To actually, you're freeing yourself from a lot of chains that are not like real. And of course, you need to create alignment and you need to like get people like rally behind. But for me, they are like, I don't know, between probably 5 and 20 people in Yotpo that if it makes sense for them, it gives me like a lot of confidence that this is probably like the right thing to do. And these are people from like a wide range of things. So I don't know. Life is too short to not do that. So I'm like, I'm always coming at it at this perspective, and I think yes, having like the culture that's on one hand like humble enough to say, okay, you know what, we're actually not that great here. We have to change, and the courage to actually change that. That's like a great combination.
You have, I'm going to try to find the right way to ask this, but you have competitors where the CEO is not the founder anymore,
Yes.
for example. And, well, actually, Jeremiah, yeah, I'm curious, Jeremiah, how you would think about this for yourself, right? But you have competitors where the founder is not the CEO, or sorry, yeah, founder's not the CEO, or the CEO is like someone else who was brought in. And I know some of them who are at the larger scale, again, I don't want to name names, they're finding it very hard to abandon their existing things, basically, because the revenue scale can be quite high and things like that. How would you think about, like, that's just, one set of examples, but there's lots of these types of situations. like with your entrepreneur hat on, do you think those companies are basically just doomed to slowly deteriorate over time? And like, what is your recommendation for situations like that, essentially? And then the attached question is, can a hired CEO ever have the permission that the founder CEO has? Because you said something very interesting. You said, I have nothing to lose. But guess what? A hired CEO, I'm not sure if that's true. And so I wonder how you think about that.
Yeah. So first, I'm not good in predictions. Like the prophecy is given for the fool. So many things that I thought are going to be right apparently got wrong, and vice versa. But I think that it really depends on what you optimize. There's like, right, Frank Stellman, probably the best hired CEO in the world. If you haven't read his book, phenomenal. I recommend it to like any operator, I actually bought it to all of our management. So I think it really depends. I think, yes, if it's like a VC backed or investor backed or public, it doesn't matter who your investor has, and you have investors, you need to really make sure that your investors are with you. Like one of Yotpo's biggest, when we did like a deep SWOT analysis, one of our strengths is our investors in the board. Really, like they give us like a lot of room to operate. And actually, I had a conversation with like yesterday it was, or 2 days ago, one of the most famous Shopify SaaS company CEO called me and asked like a bunch of stuff on how to navigate that. Eventually, like we just have like a different board dynamic. And I think like you really need to get that really, really, really in order. And I think like a hired CEO, it depends what they're optimizing for. Maybe they're optimizing for, I don't know, to finish in 2-3 years. I can tell you, we have like one of our largest competitors that has like many CEOs that got replaced. Like, I mean, many, many, many. And I know a few of them throughout the years. They came for like something different. They came to like maybe try that thing. It doesn't work. They're going to go to the next company. For me, Yotpo is like, besides my kids, probably like my biggest life project. So I don't know, like I care deeply. Like I think I care more. And because I care more, like you try to do the hard thing. Like the easy thing is not changing, right? And I don't know, like continuing as is. So I think it's just like I don't know, hired CEOs probably have like a different person. Maybe you should do an episode with a hired Jeremiah. You should. I wouldn't call you hired CEO because you are a founder, but people that are doing that for like a job, right? And maybe they're coming at it from a. It's an interesting point. Like also an interesting point. When should you hire a CEO, if at ever? Right? That's like another. It's a great discussion, and I was participating in multiple times. But I think like founder led, yes, it's a very different mentality. So I don't know. I don't know if I gave a good answer or not, but I don't know how to think about the psychology of CEOs.
Just real quick on that subject, I think you're right, Tomer. Like I am a hired CEO in the context of Stamped, but I have which I started. And I think I bring a different mindset even to Stamped than what was there previously with somebody who hadn't been a founder. And that's not to say there's a lot of things I'm learning. I don't have all the context. There's a lot. Being the founder of a company is different than being a founder that comes into a company. But I do like, I think for me, what I'm very clear on what is expected for me to deliver. And in the context in which I operate, that's running a profitable business. There's profit margin targets, there's profit dollar targets, there's those kinds of things. If I understand that, then I have full freedom to do whatever needs to happen in order to make that keep going up over time. And then I can apply my founder mindset to that situation. And in the context of what we're doing at Stamped, it's a lot of resetting things, a lot of saying no to things, a lot of like, how do we, like essentially, coming in, there's a lot of foundational things that have needed to change that I didn't even realize needed to change 6 months ago.
I'm having the same thing at Yotpo. Trust me, same thing.
Well, yeah, you were talking about you build to a certain scale, and I think we're probably about a tenth the size you are, probably both in terms of revenue and an employee count. But it's still 50 people that I have, and like even just in that 50-ish people, like changing the way you operate is extraordinarily hard to do. It's not something that just happens overnight. And so I can only imagine, what it looks like in your context. But yeah, I think you are right that there's probably a difference between like just coming in to manage something that already exists and keep it like operating versus I'm coming into this from a standpoint, like I have my own career goals in mind and I know what I want to achieve and what I want to build. And I saw this as a way to accelerate that
Amazing.
from was a year ago, not as a way to just like chill for a couple of years and make more money, if that makes sense. So,
I mean, realistically, aren't all of like founder decisions purely based around whatever like the incentive is on the table, and then whatever time horizon that you're applying to that incentive? Like the way that you operate is pretty much within that, right? So it's like if you were to come in and just like it was like a PE owned company and just like extract as much profit, you would like act one certain way. And it doesn't mean that CEO would be the same way if like they were injected into a different, situation. So I feel like it's like much more predicated on like the game board that you're like playing in. And it's just like more likely that a CEO that was hired is coming into a very specific type of board that isn't like, oh, you need to like think about how this company survives over like the next 20 years or something like that. And like they probably like in their heart don't really care about that in a lot of ways. Whereas like Tomer, you probably care a lot about that, right? So yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
Tomer, yeah, I guess I was wondering, one of the takeaways it seems like you had was that the biggest opportunity is not necessarily in the Shopify ecosystem per se, and specifically Shopify US is what it felt like. There's like a lot of opportunity international. You were actually talking a lot about in retail. So like, um, I mean, we can say Shopify POS is like in-person shopping, but I think like I'm starting to hear like, hey, people shop in much more like there's a much more expansive ecosystem in retail than just sort of the thing that most people talk about, which is like Shopify D2C in the US. But there's this like
Yes.
massive space around it. And not to say that Shopify US D2C isn't like amazing, right? I'm not trying to say that. I'm trying to say that there's like we get fixated on the one thing and then forget about the other thing. When you think about that and you think about that other opportunity that's like less discussed, I guess I have two questions. One is, why do you think it's less discussed given its size and scale? And then the second thing is, when you hear people say eventually Shopify is going to own everything anyway, how do you react to that? Because like you can basically make the case that like, hey, they're just going to keep expanding out into the rest of the universe, and so you should just like attach to the thing that's expanding out. So I guess, how do you interact with both of those ideas?
Yeah. So first, I think Shopify is probably one of the top 5, I don't know, software companies of our generation of the last decade. So anything like I would never underestimate them in a very big way. And probably Toby has a crystal ball somewhere, but it's like it's extremely impressive the way they're able to execute, and therefore like it's being discussed more because it's more interesting. And before I move to like the social sphere, but like analysts, right? Like you wouldn't cover like a Salesforce Commerce Cloud. Like what's there is about to cover too much, right? Or Adobe Commerce Cloud now going to B2B. Like Shopify is much more interesting, much more innovating, growing. So I think it's definitely like the ecosystem that of the future. And I think specifically in the Shopify ecosystem, right? Like the buyer persona, the the SaaS vendor, the agency are like, I don't know, 25 to 45. They like social. So they like to like overreact on social a lot more. A lot of like our customers outside of the social sphere. Like they don't even know many things that everyone on the D2C Twitter knows. So I think that's also important to say. It's like I don't know if you call it an ecosystem, but those buyers are all older, all different, and they just don't spend so much time on social. And I think social eventually it's probably like magnified like many things, but it's not like the entire universe, not the entire ecosystem. I can't tell you how many times some of the best darlings of D2C Twitter came to us to acquire them, and the business is doing like horrible. And there are many companies, let's take one of my friends that probably no one is talking about them enough, Globally, that went public, right? If you would look at D2C Twitter, you thought of like Globally is what, like a $5 million company and not like a $4 billion stock, right? So I think that's also really important to remind. But social does matter, like because I do think like on the Shopify ecosystem, it matters a lot. And also Shopify, it's also like a big world. There's like right the higher end of the market, the lower end of the market, probably very different type of ecosystems. So I think that's the first thing. I think for us, no, I don't think like Shopify will eat all of commerce. I think that will never happen. I think there are other opportunities. And also like for SaaS founders that are hearing it, that are building for commerce, it's really important to understand that Shopify is the larger TAM, but the more competitive TAM by nature. So it's a really good thing when you're thinking if you want to build, where you want to build, because yes, maybe it's like smaller TAM, but again, much less competitive, much pricing is very, very different. So there's a lot of other things you need to think of that you should take into consideration, specifically as you scale. I may probably in the first 10, $20 million of ARR, probably like a mistake to go outside of Shopify. But after that, and also we have customers that have like both, like they have like I don't know, instances of Shopify, but instances of outside of Shopify. So it can be both. Or even for Yotpo, we have many customers that are migrating to Shopify that were previously Yotpo customers. You know how much they value that they can actually migrate, and so it's a big thing. And again, it's a big ecosystem, specifically when you look outside of the US. Despite the fact that Europe is the fastest growing region of Shopify, still Europe is very bifurcated. The East is very bifurcated. And yes, there are edge cases that are not even edge cases. There are cases that are different. I'll give you an example of a phenomenal customer of ours, Il Maquillage, one of the best run companies, a public company, phenomenal brand. They're launching more brand. They have like 150 engineers. They love it. Like they have data science team. They will never be on Shopify. Not because Shopify is good or bad. Shopify is phenomenal platform. That's how they operate their business. And I know many founders that they like to be closer. They like to develop more. And maybe they make a mistake, maybe not. But that's how they build their business. So specifically as you scale, I think it's like uber important to be outside of Shopify. I think like the margins are different, the go-to-market is different, and many companies that are not preparing for themselves for that day, let's say when you hit those dozens of millions of dollars of ARR, it will catch up to you at some point or not, because on Shopify you will have competitors. I don't know any category that, and again, let's put Klaviyo as truly an exception of the rule, really an exception, any other category. You will have competitors, you will fight on price. Yes, D2C brands don't have a lot of loyalty to the vendor. It's more loyalty to like price and their efficiencies. So you will have some kind of like price deterioration. I don't know any category that doesn't have that. So one way to like own your profit margin or your gross margin, doesn't matter, is to also go outside of Shopify.
Yeah,
I was just saying that we actually see every day I see people switching off of Shopify to something like a WooCommerce or a BigCommerce too. So like that does happen. It's not as common as the other way, but that is still happening and will probably always happen. And then the other thing that I think is really interesting, and Tomer, you probably see this as well, like the reality is the Shopify ecosystem is the best developed ecosystem, the most innovative ecosystem in the e-commerce space. And so actually the competition is a lot lower in those other ecosystems. There's actually not as many options. Like if you are on BigCommerce and you want a loyalty program, there's only a couple of options. And like in our context, our BigCommerce loyalty integration is not good enough, to be honest. But I think it's like, I think you guys have one and we have one, and that might be it. I don't know. I haven't actually looked into the BigCommerce ecosystem a whole lot, but there's not a lot of options. And so it is easier to be competitive in those spaces. Not that you want to have an inferior product, but you actually don't have to have the same level of product to compete in some of these other categories. Or
For us, to be honest, it's more a price issue. Like that's the main issue we try to do. Like product, we really tried for the experience to be the same. Not always successful, but really trying. But yes, like the world is like it's different than what we see on I don't know, on just the Shopify ecosystem. And again, look at Affirm, look at Global E, look at like other example of like really successful companies that a lot of the revenue, most of the revenue is outside.
I think reviews is such a exciting category because I think that maybe like in the word reviews, it sort of semantically locks in your interpretation of what that means. But you mentioned earlier that the way that shoppers are leaving reviews and making purchases is changing. And I think we all see it. People create video reviews now, right? And those video reviews are so powerful that they replace advertising. And they are advertising in places like TikTok shops, and Amazon have something similar now. So how is Yotpo changing for that?
Yeah, so actually transforming reviews to like ads is actually a project we now actually built with a few beta customers. It's one of the things we might release in our reviews product soon. So definitely. Another thing is like we did already release like a kind of we call it smart prompts, like an AI assistant that helps you write more quality content that we know will convert more and will be more discoverable in LLMs. And soon you're going to see us like releasing like a Rufus type of an experience. If you're familiar with Amazon's Rufus, like the reviews agent that on the PDP page, it's not like a sales agent. It's more about a reviews agent that you can just ask questions and based on the reviews, it gives you answers. So that's another thing it's happening. And we also try to use Gen AI in general to other capabilities like AI translations. So we have, I'll give you an example, IKEA is a customer of Yotpo, right? So we deployed around like 49 countries, and how do you translate really well across like AI summaries and stuff like that? Before Gen AI, it was like impossible to create. Driving insights, alerts, through now that Gen AI can do that and go over the content much faster. We have like a saying in Yotpo that we say like no user ever read review number 1207. But you know who does? ChatGPT. So now that also like becomes really important. And the reviews that just saying like great product or I hate it, are like okay, but not that valuable as like something that's. So how do you go on quality and what does even quality means? So it's actually like a big world that I really think in the review space, after many years of a bit of stagnation of innovation, is now giving it like a new dawn.
Right. There's so much in the space of generating reviews, right? From demand generation, right, to utilizing those reviews, right? Whether that's on your website or it's in your advertising. I feel like it's such a big space. It's always evolving.
Yes.
I think it's massive. Like there is zero way we will build all of the things we want to build in the next 5 years. And I'm sure you feel the same way, Tomer. Like it's just like all the things that have opened up with Gen AI, there's so much capability and none of it's really been built yet, to be honest. Like it's very early stages of what's possible. There is so much there. So
100%.
yeah, I think, it has been a very stagnant category from my perspective. But it feels like there's a lot that's going to open up here.
I was just looking at Mary Ruth Organics, and then I saw the same Shopify app on The Ordinary, and it was video reviews like embedded into the website. And obviously, like, there's a bunch of different apps for this. But it struck me as like, this is the way that it's moving. And I think that those video reviews were embedded from TikTok. So they weren't like hosted on the website, slowing the website down. So I was looking at it, I was thinking, this is really good. I want to read a text review, right?
Yes. Video is a big medium now for reviews. 100%.
Yeah, Tomer, you were saying something else earlier that I think is like really under discussed because most businesses don't cross 10 million of ARR. But there is this like really big change in how you have to operate your company once you hit 10. Because like you said, and I'm not trying to belittle going from 1 to 10. I've gotten into plenty of trouble for doing that in the past, but it's kind of easy to do that. Like 0 to 1 is extraordinarily easy. 1 to 10 is kind of easy. And past 10 is like painfully difficult, actually, because you have to like do different things, right? Like you can do one thing and hit 10 roughly, right? Like you can like on Shopify, within that category, you can like hit 10, right? And then you have to like go to new places that requires different go to markets, things like that. When you guys were first doing that, or when you first experienced that, what is your view of like how you thought about your team structure, and like which parts of your team you needed to augment, replace? Like, how did you think about that as you went to like different areas which required different go to market motions?
Yeah. So first, I'll just say to your previous comment, or to your earlier comment, in Yotpo, it was never easy. Not the 0 to 1, not the 1 to 10. It's not the 10 to 100, not 100 plus. It really, at least for me, for us, it was maybe because I'm a first time founder. Every stage was like, it was like really, really tough. For us, like I'll just give you an example. You can say when we started, there was no competitors. Shopify was just starting. We had like a free product for like 3 years. We didn't even know how to monetize. We didn't know what SaaS is. Like it took us like, we know it was like very, very difficult for us. And then from 1 to 10, we did so many mistakes that we said, okay, churn is starting to happen at around $7 million. What do we do there? What's churn? And so for us, it was like a learning experience every stage. And it was tough. I think today in some ways, probably going from 0 to 1 is easier because the market is bigger, like the TAM is bigger. On the other hand, I don't know how companies are doing distribution today. It's probably like tougher than definitely when I did the 1 to 0, 0 to 10. I think for us, like $10 million started to feel like a grown-up company all of a sudden. I remember like Yotpo never had HR. And I was like, what do I need HR? If a manager is a good manager, what do I need HR? Like what to recruit? Let the manager do that. And I remember like it was a certain, we were like probably 70 people, 60 people, 80 people. I remember like someone told me like, man, you need to stop. Like we need HR. Like it's too much of a mess. Or I learned that not everyone understand what's going on this month. And I'm like, what do you mean? You don't understand what? Like, this is what happened. It's fine. And we start getting a realization that, okay, it's a company, it's people, blah, 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 blah. So for us, it was like multiple cycles of replacement of management, of how to work. To be honest, I think Yotpo, till today, we could do a better job. I can tell you this year, part of the change, we decided to go much deeper on OKRs. We'll see how that's going to go. But we went very, very deep this time on OKRs as a framework to really help us. And that's like trickling down to the last person in Yotpo. I think we were always, that was also one of our problems back then, right? We were very good on go-to-market in the sense that the sales were like, if you talk to customers, they'll tell you Yotpo was too aggressive because the sales were like very, very good. CSM as well, it took us like time, but we became like, we fell in love with the mechanics of go-to-market, if you want, for a side. And I think it's it's tough. It's Toby. I think I heard Toby one time talk about it, that every stage of the company, it's like a kid sits in a room with a dark room. You don't know how to get out. You want to get out, and then you find the doorknob, and you won't find, but you don't know how to open the door. And then you open the door. You move to the next room, which is bigger, but then all of a sudden it's also dark, and now you need to find the doorknob again. So I just think it's like an ever-ending thing. I can tell you, one of our board member, he was a CEO and a CFO of a company. I'll describe you the company metrics like 4 years ago. They were doing $2 billion of ARR. They were doing like 40% profit margin and growing at 50%. That's like, right, that's heaven, right? That's how heaven for SaaS sounds like. Uh, 2 years after, they were shrinking, burning money, like all hell breaks loose. And it's like, what the hell? And the company goes and they feel like they're not successful. And he's talking to me and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, man, what do you mean you're not successful? You got to the heaven. You're the heaven of SaaS. You are successful. And I think it just shows you that, and that's like a very hard thing to do. That's what I try to do in meditating, is that try not to drive your happiness from like outcomes, just like fall in love with the process. And it's such a tough thing to do. But I don't know. You just try to do that because it's a never ending grind. Maybe the only thing I'll say is liquidity. I think that is something that does change, and that doesn't matter your form of liquidity. It can be an exit, it can be your whatever your profits, it can be secondary, it can be whatever. It's like liquidity does change your life outside of work, but I can tell you, I know founders that are really at such different scales, and I know it sounds like crazy, but I don't know how many times founder talk to me like I'm a success and I feel like the imposter syndrome because we had such a shitty quarter and I see the product and I don't know, like something is so off that I feel like I'm such a failure. And so I just think it's like a constant grind and just take care of liquidity. Maybe that's the only thing I can tell you that really changes your life.
What's the way that you get people through those various stages of the journey? Right?
So not all of them can. Like Yotpo is a company, I always say, because I'm like not a great manager and I'm like a first-time founder, it's like I cannot mentor you. I just can't because I don't know how to do your job. So I can help you. So you need to hire like senior people and have like people to grow up in certain areas. I really try to, for each one of my leadership, I really try them to have like an advisor or a mentor that can compensate, that has that experience. I found that's been really, really helpful. And just to keep people with like a growth mindset. And when I mean growth mindset is always trying to improve. Okay, what did we learn? How we can get better, and not to take it personal. Like everyone is fucking up. Everyone is doing mistakes. And just if you build a culture that it's fine, I think, and a culture that, and eventually what is culture, right? Is the people you hire and how you make a decision and what you tolerate. So yeah, you tolerate mistakes, but you don't tolerate people that are not growing, that making those mistakes or keeping those mistakes, and just try to be, I don't know, as empathetic as you can. Try to have fun. I think that's, Yotpo is such a tough company. Like every time someone like I now today had like a meeting with someone that was 7 years with us, and he decided to leave. He's opening his startup, and he's one of the most exceptional people that we had. Like it hurts when he is leaving, super sharp. And my first thing, like he needs time to like, I don't know, decompress. Like it's so tough, right? It's so like intense. It's like, it's not easy. Like, right, selling to commerce brands, it's so tough. It's so tough to get everything right together. And I think you need to like help people as much as possible, understand that not all of them can see through. It can't happen. And then like, I don't know, try to hug them as much as you can and try to help them as much as you can. I can tell you also because of I had like medical cancer, like shit in my life. It gave me like a very different perspective, like really, really changed on like what's important, what's not. No one is going to die here. This is why every time that I see on Twitter, people take commerce so seriously, I think to myself, like, on one hand, great, because this means these people didn't go through like a big trauma in their life. So good for them. But like, God, I scared, don't take it that seriously. Like, no one is the devil. No one is trying to do bad. People are doing mistakes. And thank God, it's like not cancer here. It's a different spectrum. So I don't know. Also to remind on perspective is important. And when we're going through all of that, I don't know. That's it, I think.
Where did you land on the other end of that? What is important to you now? The most important?
Easy. For me, it's easy. I have a scan every 6 months. So every 6 months, I go to the same doctor, to the same room, that the same guy that sentenced me to death, and he sentenced me to life. they teach you there's like heaven and hell. For me, it's the same place, 73rd and 1st, like Memorial Sloan Kettering, God and the Devil, same person. His name is Andrew Zahn. It's my oncologist. So for me, every time when I sit in those scans, my kids, the first thing, because I was already in a place that I wrote like letters to my kids. I started to prepare videos. And so it was like very dark places. And so for me, my kids is the most important thing. My wife, my health, like mental and physical health. I'm a person now that like exercise every day, ice bath, meditate. I'm like severe PTSD on that front. Like I don't eat barely anything. My wife hate going to restaurants with me because of that. But so just other things. And also on the Yotpo side, one is like to really see people grow and like build their career. I want the top people at Yotpo to be rich, to get liquidity for them. For me, it's like really, really important, and because I think that changes life. What else in Yotpo? Also, I try to Yotpo be a platform to help back. Like again, think about it. We have like 150, 200 people in Israel. I won't go into the entire like Middle East fuck up and shit show, but we have like employees that doing reserve 200 days a year, 250 days a year. They're going through like hell. So how do you help them? How do you help their wives? How do you help their kids? We have like an organization that we, for the last 6 years, have been donating. It's called Girls Inc. in the UK. That's for girls that have like, I don't know, for lack of a better term, were born to like less lucky life than most of us. So I think those types of things try to do and try to help. But it's first and foremost for me, my kids, my wife, my immediate body and mind are the most important thing by mine. But I'll also tell you like a good story. When the cancer came back the second time, we were going public. So we were already in the IPO process. We had bankers. I was pitching investors, and you can go public with like a sick CEO. So we stopped it. Like it was like a huge thing, like a huge disappointment. And I felt so guilty as everyone saw liquidity. You can think about it, like people worked their asses off for years. And now we can because Tomer is sick. When I came back, the market crashed. Thank God we're not public. It was like a complete different thing. And I remember we had a board meeting, and we went on the board meeting. And again, first board that I'm coming back, my partner, my co-founder says like, this is a challenge. Again, remember like markets crashing. It's the end of e-com, yada, yada, yada. And I say, why it's an opportunity. And he says, challenge, opportunity, challenge. So we finished the board meeting. One of the board members called me up saying, like, man, how are you so optimistic? Like, what the fuck? Like, everything is so bad. Like, what's going on? And I told them, look, you're talking to a person that, I don't know, 4 weeks ago couldn't take a shower because he has a main line connected here. So I barely didn't take like a regular shower for like, or I didn't sleep on my stomach. I sleep like a baby. I still sleep on my stomach like a kid. I couldn't sleep on my stomach. And now I can. So what? Because the market is going bad and we have like whatever, $100 million in the bank, and we would figure it out. I don't know yet how, but that's not like a bad thing. That's like, okay, like put it in the right frame. So I think for me, getting to perspective is much easier because of cancer now. I actually use it a lot. I try to get back to those emotions that you're actually scared to losing your life. It's a very different thing. I think for people that weren't in trauma, thank for them, try to find like what helps you with perspective. But I can tell you with anyone in my senior leadership, I think at least, I don't know, 20% of my one-on-ones is like how do they take care of themselves to make sure that they're not overwhelmed, because life is too short to take this stuff seriously, or too seriously maybe.
This is amazing, man. This was amazing. This was a really fun conversation.
Yes.
Dude,
The
Tomer.
moment I
Yeah.
post cancer, I can talk for hours, man. It's like part of my PTSD as well.
I've heard you talk about this a couple times in the past, listened to some podcasts and stuff, and I just want to say I really appreciate your perspective.
Thank you, man. I really try that other people will learn from the trauma as well, because it profoundly changed my life. Really, just profoundly changed who I am as a human being.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully people are not taking ecom SaaS too seriously. That would, you
I
know,
hope. I hope.
so
I can
yeah.
tell you, and then I'll finish with like, because I need to go, but like 2 years after we started Yotpo, I won't mention the name because maybe people will know, but one of our investors introduced me to a very successful, he wasn't a SaaS, he was an e-com operator that was back then very successful, raised money, and he committed suicide and he left 3 kids alone. Why? Because on BFCM, all the money he raised, he invested in ads, and basically on every dollar he spent, he made like 0.6. And when he figured that out, he couldn't deal with that. And he literally, and I met his wife and I met one of his kids, and he say like, so no, I hope no one takes, not ecom SaaS, ecom operators, no one takes it too seriously.
Wild. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, man. Well,
Thank you. And I
enjoy
think
the
what
rest
you're
of
doing
your
is great.
Friday.
And I really hope you're helping like founders. And if there's any founder that I can help with SaaS, like feel free to hit me up. I think you're doing like a great job, really. Kudos.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks
All
for
right.
coming on.
Thanks so much, Tomer.
See y'all.
Bye-bye.